So about a week ago I published my video on Kim Iversen and you guys seem to like it. I got quite a nice response on it. It's doing well in terms of views and I just, put it out there because I have my problems with her and stuff. What I did not expect was her to actually watch the video, and to my surprise on Saturday night I actually, got a notification, and you only get a notification on your YouTube Creator Studio app if the person who comments has, I think it's over 5,000 subs. So it's definitely her, and I'll put on my notification here to show you. And she was basically critiquing my video with a fair bit of snark in it, to which I responded because I found it quite funny. I pinned the comment to the top of the comment section, and about 5 minutes after she posted it, she deleted the comment. But I just want to get into what her criticism was and sort of my response to that, and how I feel about what she said and how I feel about how she's wrong about my points and stuff. So let's get into this video. So I'm going to put the comment on screen, but here I'm just going to read it for you. Don't you dare slander by saying I said something about blacks and Asians that I didn't. You better have proof to back something up if you're going to say it. Shame on you. Honestly, who is talking about ground war? Can you think beyond boots on the ground? Surely you're able to recognise other forms of engagement. I have never once said ground war. Trump has more drone strikes, yet lower body count from the strikes versus Obama's body count. Look at Bush's body count versus Obama. Look at Trump's versus Obama. Let's talk facts. You provided no facts in the video to dispute my claims. You just gave your opinion. No facts, not one. I appreciate you doing this video as I appreciate the press, but I apologise, I won't be doing one on you. Cheers. And then, a nice bit of snark, and, obviously you can read into what she's saying here. By the way, congrats on your 6k subs. So basically she's telling me, look at your small channel, look at your 6k subs, look at my 145,000, who's more successful, whose opinion is more relevant. So, there's a lot to get into with that video, but I actually made a response to this, I think at the weekend, but because of what she said at the start, saying, don't I dare slander her, because I said that she had tweeted and posted on her community tab racially insensitive things, but because she deletes everything, I obviously had no proof of that. But I do remember people telling me about it at the time, and I remember their names, so I asked them on YouTube, what did she say at these times? Why do I think this? So then I actually got some people responding, so I'm going to show how I wasn't slandering her. I was just talking about tweets and posts she had written in the past that she had deleted that were problematic. So Veronica Reed is one of my subscribers and always, contributes good comments and everything. I asked her about it and I said, Kim actually responded to this video in a YouTube comment saying some of it was slander. Do you remember when she had that racist community post? Do you remember what it was? And then Veronica responds to me saying, I can't remember exactly when she made the post, but she was asking for evidence that racism still exists in the USA. But I read it myself and it was the final straw that led me to unsubscribe and block her posts. So then another one of my great subscribers, Izzy Sanchez Jr., also said to me, this is without me asking, saying, I know one time she posted on a YouTube comment that she was listening on hearing takes of racism, only kept responding to those who agreed with her, but many like myself will use our experience as victims of discrimination, and she basically ignored us. So I do think she's into sensationalism and she's probably a right-winger, and that's my take on that. So there's another person who's backing up what I said. So here is one more from Voices from the Melting Pot who says, she thinks affirmative action for black students getting into college is unfair to Asians. She thinks comparing black and Asian students is like comparing apples to apples, even though Asians are the cream of the crop from the nations they come from, while blacks have a history of being discriminated against and face it even today. And that plays into the thing I was talking about on Twitter, where she was talking about Asian students versus black students and Asian people versus black people in terms of education and culture and stuff like that. So Kim, if you're watching this, well, I can't, properly show you what you said. I've said it, and 3 other people have said it. I'm sure people watching this right now, please comment the stuff that she has tweeted and posted, so then we can all remind each other what she said. Because I wasn't just making this up out of thin air. I don't want to slander anyone. I didn't just make these up, And I've seen lately you've changed your bot, so I think it deletes your tweets after every week. Are you just afraid more people are going to find out the stuff you've been saying? And also, what I don't understand, you're an older person, older than me, I think at least 14 years older than me, and you're tweeting stuff, but you're so insecure about it, you're deleting it. Come on, be more confident in your takes at least. But you delete them time and again. You can say it's slander all you want, but I remember it. Those people I read out remember it, and you have grown a lot in this past year, so there are tons of your subscribers who won't remember it. But I remember when you had less subs than me, which is so weird to think. I think you had 5,000 when I first noticed you. and you have said a lot of stuff in that time, in the last year. So, you know, you're clever in deleting them, that's pretty good, but if you're confident in your takes like me, I don't delete my tweets, I don't delete my posts, I leave them all up. Same with my videos. So I thought it was important to get the slander thing out of the way, because I feel that was probably the most problematic, and it's something, you know, she accused me of, which is serious. So then she gets into saying to me, who is talking about ground war here? You know, do you not have any nuance or understanding of foreign policy? I'm not just talking about ground war, we can be talking about everything. Right, so let's get into the context of what she's saying. I played the clips before, I'm going to play some again right now, where she is talking about war as a general term, with countries like Venezuela, Syria, but also North Korea and Iran. So take a look.
He took a totally different route that I don't know anybody else would have taken. I'm confident that no other Republican would have taken gone down that road. And I'm pretty confident that many of the Democratic candidates, if they were sitting in the Oval Office, would also not go down that road. Many of them would feel like the only choice is to go to war. They would believe their advisors. They would believe the narratives hook, line, and sinker. We've seen this. We've seen with Elizabeth Warren. Her foreign policy is terrible. She believes the narratives every single time. But when it comes to foreign policy, she doesn't say, she just says exactly what the narrative is. And she would absolutely, if she were sitting in the Oval Office, would surround herself with Obama and Clinton era war hawks and would absolutely be marching us into conflict. So far, those are three potential conflicts that we absolutely could have been in, which we likely would have been in had Hillary Clinton been president. Hillary Clinton would have been president, we would already be at war. We would have been marched in Syria for sure, North Korea very possibly, and Venezuela for sure. We would have already gone in, sending in our own troops, sending in our own kids, murdering our own people, murdering their people. Kamala Harris, her main advisor was Hillary Clinton. Her sister was an advisor for Hillary Clinton. And you know that if Kamala Harris is sitting there in the Oval Office, she would surround herself with Obama-era and Clinton-era war hawks, and we absolutely would have already been into conflict in these regions. Biden, what do you think Biden would do? Biden, once again, would surround himself with the foreign policy advisors, and he would just listen to them. Hook, line, and sinker. Your number one concern is defeating Donald Trump. So even if that means putting in someone in office that you know is going to march us to war with Syria, Venezuela, North Korea, Iran, and if Israel drops bombs, we're going to be right behind them. So that is a war we absolutely might actually end up in, and that would be really bad. But my point is, another president would have also marched us into that war, as well as others.
So there you see her saying, Democratic candidates for president like Kamala Harris, like Elizabeth Warren, Joe Biden would march us into war with countries like North Korea and Iran. And I want to focus on them specifically because I would feel bad if I had made this point and she was just talking about Syria and Venezuela, because she could legit say then, I wasn't talking about an invasion, I wasn't talking about boots on the ground, because in Syria and in Venezuela there is an opposition. You could potentially start a war with those countries and get other people to do your fighting. So like in Libya, for example, where the UK and the US bombed the government forces and the rebels did the ground fighting. So in that context, I would apologise and be like, okay, maybe I took this out of context, but in the context of North Korea and Iran, that just can't happen. So she says about Iran that Trump would march us into Iran with Israel, right? You could not make the argument that Israel would do all the fighting on the ground and could occupy Iran. Israel only has a population of 8.7 million. A lot of those people are in the IDF because when Israel is at war, they'll call you up because everyone does military service and you're sort of on reserve. So if there is a time of war, they could get called up. So let's say they have a couple million at most, right? The Israelis, women and men both fight. Do you think that'd be enough to occupy the whole of Iran and subjugate it? It definitely wouldn't be. You would need US troops to go into Iran with the Israelis, or maybe a broader coalition with the UK maybe, because we've been banging that stupid war drum too. There is no way you could just bomb the Iranian government and have the Israelis go in on the ground. You could, you know, take out the government, you could defeat Iran in a war that way. You're not going to conquer Iran, you're not going to make the situation any better, you're not going to topple the government and secure it. That is just not going to happen. But she also said North Korea, so this is an even worse example. What would war with North Korea look like, apart from a massive ground war? Are you arming rebels in North Korea? No. Do South Korea have the capacity to invade North Korea on its own with US airstrikes? No, they don't. Because if you compare South Korea versus North Korea is way more militarized, it has way more missiles, it has way more, other things like chemical weapons, which I said before, one of the biggest stockpiles of chemical weapons, and it also has nuclear weapons. You're not setting the South Koreans into North Korea just with US air support. An invasion of North Korea would have to be done by US ground forces who are actually stationed in South Korea. There is no context where war with North Korea wouldn't involve US ground troops. That is just not happening. And Kim, yes, this may be my opinion, but it is informed by facts, it is informed by my education, it's informed by my masters and stuff. I just understand geopolitics pretty well. And, there is no context in which there is a war with North Korea without the US invading themselves. And like I said in the video, it would be crazy to do that because North Korea is pretty fanatical, has a massive military, has nuclear weapons, has stockpiles of numerous other kinds of weapons. It would kill millions and millions and millions of people, could spark World War III because of the involvement of China, maybe other issues like Taiwan and stuff with Japan and Senkaku, that could all tie in as well. So there's no one going to do that, but when you say we're going to have war with North Korea, there is really no other shape that can take than a ground invasion or a ground conflict between the two sides. Like I'm saying, if you said Syria and if you said Venezuela, stopped at that, maybe I would take a step back and be like, okay, maybe she didn't mean boots on the ground. Maybe I was wrong. But when you include North Korea and Iran, you were not talking about that. You were talking about boots on the ground. I know people in the comments were getting a bit funny about it as well, but there really is no alternative in the context of Iran and North Korea. And she says at the same time, a lot of these Democratic candidates would be leading wars and conflicts in all these regions at the same time. And when you talk about a war, the colloquial understanding isn't we're gonna fund, jihadis, we're gonna fund rebel groups. That isn't really the context of war colloquially. When someone declares war on another country, you normally go fully in. And a lot of the times, the US does not declare war on these countries it intervenes in. So, whether you meant it or not with the term war, when you're talking about something like Syria and Venezuela, you shouldn't have used that word, but when you talk about North Korea and Iran, you are talking about ground war. Even if you didn't think you were talking about a ground war with these countries, in terms of Iran and North Korea specifically, you were, because there just isn't any other way that would play out. Because realistically, South Korea could not sustain an invasion of the North without US troops backing them, and in the context of Iran, Israel could not do it all on its own, it would need US troops backing them as well. They just don't have the numbers to occupy a country like that. They would need backup. And also in the context of Israel, because they're a small country in terms of population, I don't think they dedicate all their troops even to the Iranian invasion if it happened, because they want to defend themselves at the same time from a lot of the Arab countries. And then Kim, if you're watching this, you can say, that is your opinion. That is your opinion. It's where are the facts backing it up? Well, I can't give you facts on something that would potentially happen. I can just tell you about the context of both those things, and that is informed by my understanding of Israeli history, understanding of Iranian history, which I feel I'm an expert on the Middle East, my understanding of like Chinese-Japanese relations and Korean-Japanese and Korean-Chinese. These are areas where I feel my knowledge is strongest because, I've done a master's course in it, I've done history and stuff. I understand this stuff, I love it as well. So yes, it's my opinion, but it's an informed opinion. People go to me to watch my channel, the small amount, the 6K that you pointed out. They come to me because I have an informed opinion. You can see from my setup, Kim, if you're watching this, that you're a better communicator than me, you're a better presenter, you have a better set for your videos, you make more videos and, they're all consistent in style. But I just feel your opinions, especially in the video I pointed out, just aren't really based in the understanding of geopolitics. Because if it was, you wouldn't have said half the things you ended up saying. And your logic is just wrong, because to say someone like Elizabeth Warren, someone like Kamala Harris, and any of these Democrats in the field would start a war with North Korea, or start a war with Iran, I just don't see it. Because like I said before, a lot of them like Obama, they're not going to rip up his legacy, that was a big deal for him, the Iran nuclear deal, they'd pursue a policy similar to that. And no one is starting a war with North Korea, not even Trump and the neocons, it's just not happening. That's why it was so bad when North Korea eventually did get nuclear weapons, because it just puts them in a position where you can't take them out. And to say that because they'd have Obama advisors and Clinton advisors in the administration would somehow make them take on at least 2 ground wars, maybe 4, I just don't buy it at all. And again, opinion, but influenced by history and influenced by geopolitics. It's not just me spouting some random shit. I'm not just some random guy who's never studied this stuff. So there's one more part of the comment I want to get into. It's basically about the drone strikes, right? She's saying, I have no facts to back it up. Obama is worse. So I went around looking for the numbers that she was talking about. I couldn't seem to find them, but I found one article which it kind of seems like she's drawing from. And I'm going to read it out now and see whose side it backs up. So it's from the Chicago Sun-Times, and it says, under Donald Trump, drone strikes far exceed Obama's numbers. And she was sort of saying that to me. Trump has done more, but Obama killed more, so let's get into it. According to a 2018 report in the Daily Beast, Obama launched 186 drone strikes in Yemen, Somalia, and Pakistan during his first 2 years in office. In Trump's first 2 years, he launched 238. The Trump administration has carried out 176 strikes in Yemen in just 2 years, compared with 154 there during all 8 years of Obama's tenure, according to a count by the Associated Press and the Bureau of Investigative Journalism. Experts also say drone strikes under President Trump have surged in Afghanistan, Iraq, and Syria. So by the sounds of it, Trump is doing way more drone strikes. So, you know, has he killed more civilians? So the article goes on to say, and this was the case during Obama's presidency. These strikes have resulted in an untold number of civilian casualties. According to the United Nations Assistant Mission in Afghanistan, US drone strikes in Afghanistan killed more than 150 civilians in the first 9 months of 2018. Amnesty International reports drones have killed at least 14 civilians in Somalia since 2017. As of January this year, US drone strikes fighting ISIS in Iraq and Syria have killed at least 1,257 civilians. According to the Pentagon and a monitoring group, Air Wars estimates the number to be as great as 7,500. So it talks about the Obama administration popularizing drone wars, but then it goes on to say, Obama eventually put in place arcane requirements to issue public reports on civilian death tolls, but just in certain military theatres, to limit targets to high-level militants, again in certain battlefields, and require interagency approval, also only for certain targets. Trump has peeled back all of those requirements because, well, he can. We now know more than we did about US drone wars when Obama first took office, but less than when he left. So basically, like I pointed out in my last video, so go back and watch that, the Trump administration has said in certain theatres of war, you don't have to report civilian casualties, you can also target civilian dense areas. But because they're not reporting this, you can't get the numbers. They're just not releasing them anymore. Obama's was secretive, but this is even worse. This was just from the first 9 months of 2018. It's now 2019. But you can't get the proper numbers because the Trump administration don't publish them, they don't acknowledge them anymore, and they target more civilian heavy areas. So you can maybe say Obama killed more civilians with his drone program in terms of, you know, his first 2 years versus Trump's first 2 years, but it's impossible to get the real facts. And because of what Trump's done, he's, you know, cut lots of red tape in terms of military engagement. I definitely think Trump has killed more. Okay, maybe that's me speculating, but I just pointed out the facts to you, how they're targeting more civilian dense areas and they're not reporting civilian casualties. So what do you think that's going to look like? Do you think it means they're going to kill less people? So that is just addressing that last point. There are the facts for you. So to get on to her last point, she congratulated me obviously on my 6k subscribers. And what I want to say to that is, you know, I said in the video before, in my first video about Kim, I said, you know, I appreciate you've done this all on your own, you've grown a big audience, you know, I wish you like success in that, and you obviously have a skill, you're a good communicator, and generally I think we would agree on a lot of political issues. I never said she was a bad person, I never said she had inherently bad politics, I just said her arguments are sometimes bad, but the point she often gets to is good. So my video is more constructive criticism than an outright personal attack, but she seems to have taken it quite badly. And what I will say is, like, I'm proud of my channel. You know, you have 145,000 subscribers, you make a living off it now. I have 6k, you know, whatever. I enjoy my community I enjoy talking about these things. I don't often go for what's popular, I just make my own content on what I'm interested in. So that's not something I take too personally. I actually laughed when I first read it because it just made me think I've really gotten under your skin, which people will tell you, my subscribers and some people I know in real life tell you I like doing. But that was not the goal of my video. It was just to give you some criticism because you have an amazing platform, you're a great presenter, you're a great communicator. I was just giving you some criticism on your points about why you thought somehow Democrats are bigger warmongers than neocons. And I agree on you broadly that Democrats are often no better, but the things you were saying were just not going to happen and they just weren't true. In my opinion, based on facts, based on everything I know, But again, yeah, my opinion, you can have your opinion, but I don't see the precedence for your opinion, to be honest. So that is the end to my little spat with Kim Iversen. At the end of the day, I'm not bitter towards her. I hope she has more success on YouTube. You know, people like her content. And at the end of the day, I'm happy someone is spreading an anti-war message to lots of people who might look up to her. And at the end of the day, her platform is good for some things. She's just very racially insensitive, I find. And some of my, you know, subscribers found as well. And then she's deleted a lot of her tweets. I think she even deleted that Kaepernick one lately. So you can see that when she gets a bit of pushback, she just deletes them. But she never admits she's wrong. She's very combative, and she was in this comment as well before she deleted it. But, you know, we all say things in a rage. She did delete it. Maybe she didn't really mean it. I've given her the benefit of the doubt. But let me know what you guys think in the situation down in the comments. If you like the video, please give it a like. Maybe subscribe to the channel if you're new. If you want to find me on social media, follow me at The Cavernacle on both Instagram and Twitter, where I'm most active. If you want to maybe take a look at my Patreon, that is in the description. And again, like I always say, massive thank you to the people who are patrons. I super appreciate it. If you want to check out some of my written work, go onto my WordPress blog, and that is just The Cavernacle WordPress. And if you made it this far, thank you for watching.